Colby, thanks for being here today.
You bet. My pleasure.
And you run the Atwood Innovation Plaza. You're the director of that. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Yes, so we're a Dixie State facility. We're located physically just directly across the street from the football stadium. We're the old East Elementary School that about 4 years ago, Dixie, along with a federal grant inject of funds, succeeded in completely renovating, gutting out the inside of the school with the mission of supporting the innovation of ideas. So we support primarily students, but also equally community members who walk into our building with an idea, whether it's an invention, a business idea, or a business that's already going and just needs new support, new resources. Our goal is to wrap our arms around those ideas and those people and help them succeed.
This is so it's the school. It's part of the school, but this is for the public.
It's both, yes. So I'm a Dixie employee.
Okay.
So Dixie owns and operates the school. I'm funded through Dixie, but we service everyone, students and community members.
Okay, and Dixie's a state university.
Correct.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you help businesses get all the resources and tools that they need to succeed.
Yes, that and provide opportunities for students and community members to gain skills. Employment opportunities, internships. So we also help stimulate the student workforce development. And then also those companies that are incubating with us, we help incubate and grow the community members themselves.
So I want to know two things now. I want to know what your background is that led you to that. And then this Innovation Plaza, is that a unique thing for a university to have something like that?
Yes. So in terms of me and my story in arriving here, I'm a Special Forces Green Beret by training. I was active duty in the Army. I graduated from West Point, worked my way through the Special Forces combat deployments.
Green Beret?
Green Beret, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You're way cooler than me.
Well,
that's pretty awesome.
Well, it's been an incredible experience.
Yeah, I guess. Mm-hmm. Okay, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. So deployed around the world through the Special Forces. And then after my time on active duty, worked in the Pentagon for a little while where I was working legislative affairs for the Pentagon back up onto Capitol Hill. After a large amount of time in government, it was time for me to learn the business side of things. So I found an opportunity with Google, where I've been the last 4 years in Silicon Valley at Google headquarters, working as a global program manager.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, I left Google last summer in May to come here to Utah. Mainly, I'm a Utah native, my wife and I both, and which I hope we'll get into a little bit here. We wanted to come here. Wanted to be in St. George, wanted to be back in Utah. Closer to family and friends, and then just to be here. And then I found this opportunity which aligns nicely, pulls on all of my experiences across unconventional situations to help people serve and to help people grow with their ideas.
This is, before you talk about the background of the Innovation Plaza, I want to just stop on that for a second.
Okay.
Because as we've had this discussion with numerous companies here, that theme of wanting to be someplace and making that be where you have your career, as opposed to going where your career takes you and then turning that into home, has been an interesting pattern in these discussions. And there's something about that lifestyle that's so inviting to people that they will come here and become an entrepreneur or start their business or bring their business here just because they want to be here. This is so fascinating because you're working for really one of the biggest companies on the planet, and doing something. I don't know exactly what your job was, but it's obviously a successful, stable organization, and then you walk away from it, and then go to be in Utah, in St. George of all places. Are you from St. George originally?
My in-laws have lived here for 20 years, so I've been coming here off and on. I'm from Roosevelt, Utah, northeast Utah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I've been coming here for a long time, and I've always been aware. Grew up a few hours from here, so certainly familiar with the region and wanted to be here. We made a conscious decision to buy land here and to move here, and like you said, I left a very nice paying job, Google stock, and opportunity there to come here. And the quality of life has been tremendous. I went from almost a 90-minute commute one way to 10.
See,
to 10 minutes.
seriously, when I brought my business down here because we were in Denver, I tell this to everybody that sits in here.
Yeah.
We were based in Denver, and it was that commute and being cold, because I don't like being cold. Yeah. But I would work with different companies, and you would get to a point where you just kind of assumed wherever you go, you're going to spend an hour getting there, if not more. And if it's a really bad snow day, I had times where it'd be 2 hours to go visit somebody on the other side of town. It was just absolutely crazy just dealing with that. So that alone, and I hear people down here talking about traffic, and I have to chuckle.
Yeah, they hit the two.
What traffic?
The red lights.
Yeah. I guess I saw some cars today.
Yeah,
it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So specifically, is that the part of the lifestyle that brought you here, or what was it that made you want to be in St. George?
Yeah, that certainly contributes to it. I spend. I've regained a lot of my time back just in commuting and being home with my family, or being able to be more productive at work. So that certainly factors into it. And then just the overall quality of life. California and Utah are two different states, and we enjoy being here, and just the fact that we're closer to my wife and I both to our parents and siblings. So that certainly helps as well.
Okay. Yeah. So then the Atwood, which makes perfect sense. And that's actually been a theme too, where people go, hey, there's family. And you think, what an important thing that is, being able to either be near your family or be able, like you said, to be able to spend more time with your family, because you're losing hours a day just driving back and forth that could be that time with loved ones, family, doing the things that are truly important to you.
Yes.
So let's jump back over to the Atwood Innovation Plaza. I asked a second ago, is this common in universities? And why? What's the genesis of this place?
Yeah. So we found that universities generally have this in concept, but it's more focused on how can the innovation plaza, if you will, support research for professors, for the faculty. Now, ours is just the opposite. We certainly support the students, but we support anyone who walks in the door. We're not geared primarily to support faculty research and faculty studies and faculty efforts. We support certainly faculty who want to come over and develop their idea, but we support anyone. You can walk into our door, and for free, we will help your idea grow, whether it's an existing business or you just have an idea and you want to gain some consultation. And we also help people protect their ideas through patenting, copywriting, trademark, a tremendous unique capability that's resident within the plaza that helps people protect their ideas. And if there's something already out there like it, then we'll help you tweak it so that it's unique, but still solves the problem you're working on.
So I want to know, maybe just for a second, get into a little more detail on this. If so somebody has a business idea, somebody in the community, they just go bang on your door and say, hey, I have a business idea. And then who's there? I mean, what is that resource exactly? What happens?
So the beauty of it is you can gain our assistance through various entry points. We certainly encourage people to go to our website, innovation.dixie.edu, where we have different portals you can enter depending on your need, and then gain an organized, efficient response, get something booked with one of my teammates.
So who are these teammates?
So we have four main areas that we offer assistance through. One is the Business Resource Center that's sponsored by Zions Bank, a generous sponsor that's helped us physically renovate that side of the building and then house our business consultation resources. And through the BRC, we call it Business Resource Center, they have a launch series, a 4-week launch series that can step people through one night a week, 22 different steps that help a business grow. So you can do the formal launch series, or you can gain individual consultations that way. The second area is through our patent office, Innovation Guidance and Solutions, we call it. So I described that a little bit earlier. You can, if you're developing your business now, let's patent it, then you can get some crossover with our patent office. And then probably our crown jewel of the whole building is our makerspace. So the largest makerspace in the state of Utah. We have 3 different areas. One is called it our clean side. It's full of all different kinds of 3D printers.
Wow, okay.
Different laser cutters, a roll-in graphic, huge roll-in printer, some high-end sewing machines that allow for fabrication or embroidery.
Wow.
And then a bank of computers where you can do graphic design, computer automated design, and then a wood shop, and then a metal shop. So
okay, all this stuff, these are like, you have people that have given grants or sponsors or something that have helped put these things in place?
Yes, a little bit of all of that, and the university funding as well.
Okay. And then the public, an entrepreneur can just access these things, or how does that work?
They can. You can walk into the building and we'll get you oriented to the space, help you listen and try and understand what it is you're trying to do. If you're just a hobbyist and want to create or tinker, or if you have an idea and you want to prototype, you want to learn how to use the equipment, then we have classes that are taught by, and this is what's neat. A lot of my staff are students, Dixie State University students that are paid interns. So they're gaining tangible, real valuable, active learning experiences, but then they're also providing a service to those who walk in. So if you're like me and you're not necessarily mechanically inclined, but you have an idea and you're curious, then you can come into the makerspace area, either gain an individual consultation or sign up for a class that's free. All you pay for is just materials used, which is very negligible. And then we just unlock really your creativeness. I've seen people walk in that have one idea, but then learning how to graphic design that idea, they now have 4 ideas. It just unlocks that creativity.
And this is all supporting basically the idea that in this community, we're trying to be, I guess, more business friendly, or to create more jobs, or to have more money moving through here. Or, I mean, that's really the point here, right? I mean, it's because several people I've spoken to in here just talk about the business friendly environment of Utah in general.
Yes. Yeah.
And I found that to be true. Like I said, I moved down here and I can concur with that.
Yeah.
Is this just kind of part of that effort?
It's certainly a manifestation of our actions are speaking louder than our words. We truly welcome all comers, and success for me as the director of all of these resources. And let me just briefly mention our 4th area. I mentioned 3 of them. 4th is our actual incubator. So I have a full office area that's open and designed to foster that cross-functional, cross-communicative environment where businesses that are incubating can work. So we have businesses of 1, businesses of 2 or 3, and they have their own little desks, workspace, but as one is maybe whiteboarding, the other can listen in and they can share ideas and help. And then I have mentors who regularly drop in. I have full-time staff that are helping with marketing, helping prepare for our pitch competition. We run a quarterly pitch competition. So we help provide kind of that stage for people to shine. And we have a vast audience of diverse investors or interested people who hear the pitches and then can choose. We have a cash prize for the top 3 finishers.
Wow, no kidding.
And community or student ideas. But back to your question, yeah. So our success for me as the director is an idea develops, it incubates in our incubator. It then gets to revenue where it's now renting a larger space in the building, and it hires students or it brings in other people, and then ultimately it outgrows my building and has to rent space or buy a building or have another facility here in St. George, and just proceeds to grow. So we want to see this. Well, we view ourselves as kind of the gateway for creativity as people grow, incubate, and then ultimately end up on Tech Ridge, perhaps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
As a multi-million company.
This is interesting because you have, so a lot of people that we talk to in here are the entrepreneurs that are starting some of these businesses. You have kind of a unique vision working with a broad range of these people, some of at various stages in their growth. So I want to go over some of these things that we ask some of the business owners, to just see what your thoughts are on those same topics. Because once again, you have kind of a broader view than a specific business owner might. One of them is once again, we live in essence, a smaller community. I come from Denver, which isn't a huge city, but it's a couple million people when you take the greater Denver area together. You come down here and you take St. George and all the suburbs, and it's a fraction. So you have a much more limited human capital, people available to you, potential employees.
Yeah.
How do businesses work through that issue of having a smaller talent pool to draw from?
Well, that talent pool is growing, certainly leaps and bounds. Just as me as a private citizen building a new house here since I've moved here, that the new home industry, building industry is booming. So the talent pool and qualified resources, human capital available is growing, just from the fact that the virus helped people see you can work from anywhere. So why not work from St. George, Utah? So people that have that corporate experience from maybe like me, Silicon Valley, can come here, and then as they plug in here and see the other opportunities, then they become a new alternative for someone who's looking to grow their business, someone who transplanted here, who's working from home, but now has seen there are new opportunities. So I would say the workforce has changed in that regard. Development happens through my organization is one example. We have Dixie State University students who are actively involved with all the incubating companies that are in our sandbox. Mm-hmm. I have 17 right now, different companies that are either renting space or incubating in our building. And all of those companies, my job is to try and be the traffic cop. Hey, go here, go there, talk to this person. And at the same time, plug my students into those opportunities so they can grow, they can gain experience, and ultimately gain a full-time job. The one example, the mechanical engineering department at Dixie State University now has a design practicum, kind of a capstone class for their senior engineers who are growing up in the program, who can plug in with my incubating companies who need that horsepower, who need that talent at a junior new level that can grow together. So you have students gaining real world problems to work on, gaining college credit for it, and at the same time kind of dating with that business. And who knows, maybe it turns into a full-time job down the road. So lots of development, at least in that regard, from at Dixie State University and beyond.
So, and you talked about this a second ago. You have people that will come in and use some of the free space you have available.
Yeah.
Then they outgrow it, rent some space. That's one of my next questions. Is you also have in St. George, once again, because like most small communities, you're going to have a limited number of or a number of options or types of office space available to you. Mm-hmm. And that's the next question. How do businesses handle that issue? For example, when we moved down here, we were moving a big production studio, and in Denver, there's every shape and size you could ever imagine to the kind of space that we would need.
Yeah.
And you come down here, and it's a few different options, and then you kind of have to figure out how to make something fit, that's pretty close. And so, how do people? So, as far as your not housing, but facilities.
Yeah.
How do people manage facilities in a smaller market like this?
I'm not as savvy in terms of the facilities available outside of the university, but I am seeing some of our larger incubators who are renting space. We have one particular student-led company that's renting a huge warehouse so that they can build their larger version of their prototype. So I know that in terms of industrial space, it seems to be accessible for our incubating companies that are growing. I know that Tech Ridge, if anyone is interested in the master plan and the grander vision of development here, then look no further than Tech Ridge in terms of what is currently opening there and buildings that are available, the space that's available, and then the master plan that is continuing to be built. So I would say if anyone feels that resources are limited, then help is certainly on the way and is already touching down here in St. George.
That's interesting because actually the fact that you just said touching down, one of the issues that always comes up here is that from a shipping, receiving, resources available in a smaller market like this, we have a very small airport touching down. We really don't have a railroad coming through here. And so resources that maybe you need or raw materials are a little bit more difficult to come by. or are they? And then how do people deal with that piece of it?
In terms of transportation, I would say almost argue the opposite about the airport. I'm still in the National Guard, and I was mobilized back to Washington, D.C. as part of the inauguration. And I looked at how can I fly out here the cheapest. I looked at Salt Lake, Vegas, and the best option was St. George.
Really?
So I flew from St. George, brief stop in Phoenix, and direct to D.C. So I didn't expect that. I thought, well, I'll be driving to Vegas.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm driving there in a couple hours.
Yeah.
To fly to Denver.
So check out the St. George SGU. Yeah, so it was a great option for me to get to to DC and back. In terms of resources coming in and out, the transportation, with I-15, we sit on a major artery that feeds the Southwest, and just on the northeast going out of St. George, you have the huge distribution hub of Walmart.
That's right.
So the fact that Walmart, who is who has the experience to identify where distribution should occur, the hubs, the nodes. The fact that they put a flag down here.
Masters at logistics,
yes,
and they have they picked a place that's right outside the boundaries of the city.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's just right. I've actually noticed that many times as I drive northbound.
So they know their business, and
that's interesting
put
because
a flag down here.
I think a lot of people don't appreciate, when we're talking specifically about St. George, don't appreciate its actual location in the state and its location in reference to Las Vegas. I mean, some people who are watching this or listening to us, when we talk about driving to Vegas, it's so interesting. So when I talk to people about where our business is located, because you say Utah and your immediate thought, at least seems like most people, is that you're in the mountains and there's snow. Yeah. And they don't realize that St. George specifically, we're really, really close to Las Vegas. We're down on you can throw a rock and hit Arizona from here.
Yeah.
And so the weather is more like Arizona. You figure out what the weather's like in Vegas, and we're within a couple of degrees of that almost every single time. Yeah. And so, and actually, as we're talking about Walmart, Amazon, as you drive south and you go towards Vegas, they have massive, massive distribution facilities down there too. So actually, to your point, having I-15 running through here is a really, really massive corridor, and you have two of the biggest distributors in the world that have distribution centers right here within rock throwing distance of St. George.
Yeah, let me share a story with you just to illustrate our location. So it's spring break here right now this week. My high school daughter's out of school. My wife and I are both working, and I took yesterday off to spend with my daughter. We drove just over an hour northeast, and we're right in the middle of Zion's National Park. And I mean, an hour's drive, you go from the beauty of St. George to now a national park like Zion's, and we spent the day there driving around, hiking with our dogs, walking, and then an hour we're back home.
Which is interesting because Zion's National Park, it's not just known in the United States. People literally travel from around the world.
They do.
Just to go there.
Yeah. And then an hour further is Bryce Canyon.
Yeah, and then you go a couple of hours in the other direction, and we're at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and then Lake Powell.
and Lake Powell is right there too.
The reasons why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's some of it. And actually, you could actually hear while we were talking a minute ago, one of the reasons is that I was hearing this massive rainstorm, which right now in Denver, they're about to experience a massive snowstorm.
Yep.
And I much prefer. Yeah. It's one of the reasons that I ended up here.
I heard someone tell me when I was moved here last summer, they said, well, we shovel sunshine here, not snow. So I grew up in snow as well, Northeast Utah. But
That's pretty awesome. So the Atwood Innovation Plaza, this is, because it's an extension of Dixie, which is a state-run college, you're obviously getting a lot of your support from the state then. And but also, you mentioned Tech Ridge a second ago, which is something that the city is obviously supporting. I don't know how intimately involved you are with people in the government, but where I wanted to go with the conversation now is, obviously, from a state, county, city standpoint, there is a great deal of effort building companies or being supportive of business in this area. What are the kind of things that they are doing that's successful, and are there other things that should be being done from a government standpoint that would help businesses?
Yeah, just the fact we're having this conversation is a great symbol and action that illustrates the economic development focus here is front and center. In terms of where I sit, just last Friday I hosted St. George's newly appointed mayor, because the previous mayor got pulled up to the new governor's cabinet. Mayor Michelle Randall, the first female mayor of St. George. So historic time for St. George, Utah. And I hosted her along with one of her council members, a councilwoman, in the Innovation Plaza. And they were very much supportive and very much excited to learn and see firsthand all that we are doing. And then to be partnering with our St. George Chamber of Commerce is a powerful ally here to business in the city as well. And then the economic development groups that are involved. Everyone, I've been in meetings where businesses that are considering coming here, there is no shortage of support. I've been in a meeting where the president of the university, president of Dixie Tech, the mayor, superintendent, economic development people, reps from the governor's office come down because a business has shown interest in St. George. And we want to make sure that their questions and concerns are answered, and that we can properly display the goodness of why I choose St. George.
So, and this is St. George specifically. Let's take the picture a little broader, because since Dixie State is a state university, what are the benefits, or how does the state support entrepreneurship or business in Utah in general?
Yeah, just us having that facility is a huge marker.
Okay.
Dixie State University made sure that the facility itself remained, and then partnered with the Economic Development Agency to gain a federal grant. And I would certainly be negligent if I didn't mention Lindsay Atwood, who is really our pioneer and founder of why we have the plaza. Back in the early days, a few years ago, when Dixie was stepping up, a grant was identified, but in order to win that grant, there needed to be a match. And Mr. Lindsay Atwood, a local entrepreneur, successful businessman, serving on the Board of Regents at the time, stepped up and said, "I will be that match." So having people like him who put their money where their mouth is, literally, enable tremendous opportunities to happen. One main reason I came here was to work with people like that, and it has not disappointed me at all. Probably weekly I'll have someone email me or be connected to me who says, "Hey, I'm new to the area. I'm been retired for a while, or I'm newly retired, or I'm successful business." They don't say it exactly like that, but that's generally the sense. And their question is, how can I help? I want to be involved. I know you're helping business to incubate. Here are my skills, my expertise. I want to help. And it's awesome to have people like that want to come to the Innovation Plaza and want to help. And so it's been great.
Wow. It is pretty interesting when you look at, so you talk specifically about Tech Ridge, and then you have everything that's going on up north right now.
Yeah.
Silicon Slopes and it's so interesting looking at some of these big tech companies. I mean, for example, when you start driving up towards Salt Lake, I don't remember how many years ago, but I remember the first time I saw the big Adobe building right there on the side of the road. And you start realizing how many big tech companies actually exist in Utah. And it's a pretty serious. So that's where I wanted to go here next. When you start talking about Southern Utah specifically, and you see new businesses starting here, or businesses here, what types of businesses specifically are we talking about? Do you see patterns in the kinds of things that exist here?
And if from the Innovation Plaza, we have quite a diverse array of ideas, ranging from software-heavy companies, a team that's developed some new coding logarithms that are facilitating a new niche in tech per se, to a company that's probably our most successful and promising student-led company that specializes in desalination.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
This is a Dixie State University student who invented an idea that's revolutionizing and will revolutionize the desalination saltwater to freshwater concept, and already harnessed lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in initial investment, and then promised continued investment. We actually hosted, speaking of desalination, their company is called Eden Technologies, and we hosted a senior consultant from the government of Saudi Arabia, flew in here last December 21st, and at the Innovation Plaza, along with the Eden Tech team, they pitched to this consultant, and he left very impressed and said, if you can hit these benchmarks in production, then the government of Saudi Arabia will be interested and is interested. And so just examples like that where we can rip off any of the barriers and boundaries that may be impeding our companies that want to incubate and grow and make those connections.
That's so interesting because like a topic, a product or a solution like that literally could revolutionize the world. Literally. I mean, that desalinization it would change, it could change everything if you could get that done efficiently and effectively.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because as I've had some of these conversations with people, the world we live in today, yes, you're in a smaller market like this, but it doesn't mean that your reach is just this area.
Oh, exactly.
Because that right there is a great example of something that could literally, something like that were developed could be used in every time zone. It could revolutionize everything. And we've talked to different companies that have come in here that, they started working in somebody's garage here in this small community. And the next thing you know, they're having things manufactured in Japan, and they're working with people in Hollywood and all this stuff. And but they stay here because they like the small community, they like the area. And there's really so few things to stop you from literally changing the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Right here in this community.
Yeah. The world is accessible from here. So why not have the best that St. George has to offer that's unique to St. George, but still access the world? I mean, and this desalination company, Eden, they've also been in touch in communications with the government of Israel.
Wow.
They've been out visiting the Navajo Nation they have difficulty in purifying their water. So just because we are here, perhaps we're not Mountain View, California, but I would argue we are better. And I've experienced both now.
So could you take just a second, so now you've worked in these two diametrically, different environments. Can you just give us a quick compare and contrast?
Oh, well, where to begin? I want to be fair to my California friends, but we made a deliberate decision to leave there and come here to Utah for many reasons. We talked about it a little bit earlier, just the fact that in order for me to have a home where I could have my family and afford it, even though I was making great money at Google, I wasn't on the lower end. I was making good money. We had to buy a house an hour and a half away. Now, to Google's credit and Facebook, other companies, I rode a Google bus into work, but they clearly recognize for their employees that have families and want to have a regular life, they have to live an hour and a half away. So who wants to live like that? I mean, I was on the road a tremendous amount of time, let alone if I had to drive in on my own. That would, those were awful days, just commuting. But then in terms of government support, compare and contrast between California and Utah government, try not to be too political, but oppression, government, business-friendly environment. Utah is hands down much better. And the pandemic, overcoming the pandemic, Utah is clearly winning and succeeding in that regard. My wife is a healthcare provider, and she's right on the front lines of helping with vaccinations and COVID and seeing the positive wave that Utah is experiencing, positive in terms of negative with COVID, is tremendous. And that just further stimulates positive growth for business opportunities. So just a few reasons why we came here.
Yeah, those are all, and actually you touched on something that is also a really, really important issue. And it's the cost of living part.
Yes.
Buying a home here as opposed to a place like that. Yeah. It's a completely different thing. Now, this does bring up a couple of different issues. When you're in a smaller market, homes may be more affordable, but not necessarily more readily available.
Yeah.
And so do you have any thoughts on that specific topic? Because right now, St. George specifically is going through this massive growth process.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hear people talking about this. There's building going all over the place and new houses, but also these things are disappearing really quickly. And so what is a company that maybe wants to move down here? What do you do about that issue? Or is there something that can be done about that? The fact that these people have to have a place to live. They've got to be able to buy a house or somewhere to stay. And how do we deal with that?
I'm reminded of a meeting I attended, probably last fall, when a company was St. George we were dating each other, a company coming here and is still intending to come here. But the superintendent was answering that question. How do you make sure with this growth, the CEO of this company was saying, how do I make sure my employees, because he could be bringing potentially thousands of employees, how do we make sure they have schools to attend?
Mm-hmm.
And the superintendent said, if you come, we will build them. Like we are dedicated to making sure that our growth keeps up with the business growth as well. And the mayor echoed that. And Dixie State University is increasing degree-related programs and master's programs to support producing a workforce that has those higher level skills, those entry skills at a higher level. So I heard every key stakeholder in the community recognize that with growth comes a demand for growth to meet that in other areas, and I left that meeting particularly reassured. And then just from my own experience in building a home here, we're certainly victim to the world in terms of getting our refrigerator here on time is going to take a long time because it's being made wherever. But the home building market is very much vibrant and alive, and like you said, driving around, there are new homes going up all over. Just a short drive from here on Sunset Boulevard, there are 2 new multi-home developments going underway. So a lot of new housing will be available just on this major artery. Yeah,
actually, I was out running this morning, and as I ran past a couple of spots, I thought, oh my gosh, I saw what was starting there. So
yeah.
Very interesting. So I'm going to ask you a question that we hadn't planned on talking about, but it seems like you'd be a great person to just talk about this. And it's not even necessarily St. George or Utah specific. It's more business specific. So you're somebody that watches companies start from nothing to the seed, to the growth, to a space, to moving out to a new space, that trajectory, that arc, life cycle. What is the key to having a successful business? If you were to try to answer that question.
It's really where we focus. It's the idea is hatched or launched, and a lot of initial momentum, maybe some initial investment if you're looking at a graph, and then the business and the idea hits reality. Oh, we need to do this, we need to do this, and starts to go down into kind of a valley of death. Yeah. And then that low arc, that's where reinforcement needs to happen.
Okay.
That's where, and I liken that to when I was the onboarding process at Google. They teach you about the imposter syndrome. You get hired, you're qualified, you're reassured, then you get on your new team, and you quickly realized, wait a minute, I don't know how to do this. They all do.
Oh yeah,
I'm the new guy. They made a mistake in hiring me. I should leave. So you feel like an imposter. And I think sometimes an entrepreneur may feel like that. I have an idea. I know it's validated. There's a market, but it's just not working, or I can't get the investment I thought. So I go into that kind of imposter. I feel like I'm an imposter to this business world. I don't belong. And that's where the Innovation Plaza steps in, is because we have people who have succeeded, or people who can say, no, you've got, your idea will work, and we are going to make sure that we're here to help you do that. And whether that's my team, my direct full-time staff, or the type of people I was describing who want to come and serve and give back, give of their both resources and time and experience. If I see someone that's struggling, I have no shortage on my Innovation Plaza Rolodex of calling someone, hey, you had this particular skill, I need some help here. And people usually answer that call. So businesses succeed when they are surrounded with support during that low curve in their trajectory, so that they can get back on an upward turn, and those that come out of there usually succeed, from my experience.
That's interesting, because that applies to so many things in life. It's almost like just commitment. If I can just keep pushing,
It helps to have someone.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because so often, I think a lot of people, when they start a business, don't understand things like cash flow. I mean, you can be gone in months if that's not in place. And so it's there's so many little things that can just kill you.
Yeah.
As you're trying to get off the ground. So.
And is there a market?
Is there a market for
people
your
who have great ideas,
service?
but is anyone going to buy it? So we help make sure we explore that as well.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago the pitch competition. Could you talk a little bit about more this pitch competition, what that's all about?
Yes. So we sponsor a quarterly pitch competition every quarter. We just had one in February, and our next one will be April 23rd. For this pitch competition, we take those companies or ideas, people we've been working with over the previous quarter, who've matured and grown in their business idea and responded positively to our efforts. And we usually get about 5 or 6. We had 6 this past round, and we help them prepare their pitch deck. We help them identify their market. We rehearse them, help them get ready to ultimately go before an audience of potential investors. And so the actual conduct of the competition is I'm the master of ceremonies, if you will. Then my team works behind the scenes for each contestant candidate to have 5 minutes to pitch their idea. So 2.5 minutes to pitch, 2.5 minutes of questions, and then on to the next candidate. Then at the end, the full audience can vote, and then the top 3 vote getters get a cash prize that so far we've had from generous donors. We haven't had to dip into our institutional funds, which has been outstanding. Incredible to have people step up like that. And then the first place winner with the cash prize gets an invitation to physically come join us in our incubator for no charge. So they have 6 months of free rent, access to my staff, to all of our resources, so that they can now have a dedicated desk and space to incubate and grow. So that's quarterly. And if you're interested in attending and just watching or participating, go to our website, innovation.dixie.edu. On the website itself, we have 4 different areas that get to what we talked to earlier: our incubator, our makerspace, where you can schedule classes, or schedule the equipment, our patent office, which is innovation guidance and solutions. You can book an appointment there. And then our business resource center on how to gain a consultation.
Okay, so finally, if somebody has an idea, they want to start a business, they want to. I mean, how do they get a hold of you, or what's the procedure at this point?
You bet. So you can physically walk into the building, located just across from the university football stadium, or you can go to our website, innovation.dixie.edu. If you're someone who's looking for that support with the initial business idea, you've got a new idea, and now what do I do? How can I get some support and resources? Then on that webpage, innovation.dixie.edu, under our business resource center that's sponsored by Zions Bank, click on that landing page, and then it takes you into some other choices. One is request a consultation. So you can simply click there. That brings up an intake form. By completing the intake form, that gives us information so that we can organize ourselves in advance of having that first meeting. You can identify, here's my idea, here's my strengths, here's some areas I need some help with, and then we'll reach out to you and book a consultation, and then we're off to the races from there. So really our website, innovation.dixie.edu, is the gateway that then unlocks other options.
Hey, thank you so much for this. Has been absolutely fascinating talking to you.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you taking the time to be here.
My pleasure. Thanks.